Wow. What is wrong is supporting a presidential candidate and declaring it publicly, and then you muzzle or you give blackout
to the
other competitors. Well, that is wrong in the sense that these people are also stakeholders of the very nation. Media has confidence of the audience. So whatever media airs is nothing but the truth. Absolute truth. So when you air somebody who is a magician talking about how he's helping certain families, certain homes, how he overturns misfortunes into fortunes, you see, you are playing with the emotions of the people, and in fact, you are helping that magician, that conman, to lay a trap on the innocent people. We are talking about other people's stories, how they are not well paid. In fact, we even go and far as get documents to prove how they are frustrated, how their monies in terms of deductions are being stolen and not remitted. But the person talking about the remittance
is also not getting his own money.
He's not getting his salary.
Now, let's go to something else. We've been told that as journalists we are supposed to be comprehensive, accurate, impartial, unbiased, and fair. Do you feel this is entirely easy to do, going by the fact that in Kenya, first of all, the media houses, most of them are actually owned by politicians?
Anyway, let me first tell Kenyans that any media house can work in any political environment. A media house which is registered to work in Tanzania can as well be registered and work in Kenya. In fact, you'll be surprised that our democracy is so liberalized that you may not compare with Tanzania. Or what works in Kenya as a media house can even work in Ethiopia, which is more or less a dictatorial government. There's no democracy compared to Kenya. Even when you look at places like Democratic Republic of Congo, or you look at places like Angola, those are places that their democracy, their level, their growth of democracy is not comparable to Kenya. But a media house which works in Iraq, even during under Saddam Hussein, can register in Kenya and work in Kenya. Why do I say so? Because media house easily adapt to the environment. So for that matter, I would say that in our scenario, things have worked as per the situation we are in terms of our traditions, in terms of our culture, and our way of life. So maybe you can bring that question again, so that if there is an area you want me to highlight concerning.
No, I was just wondering whether that fairness and all that could actually fit in, especially, for example, now we are in an election time, you know, and the owners of different media houses are also going for certain seats and all that.
Yes.
And as a journalist, is it really easy to be able to cover those stories fairly? Because you'll find that isn't it the case that certain media houses will then tell you, we are going to report in this manner, we are going to favor, you know, the reporting on such and such a candidate. Doesn't that happen?
Actually, what happens during elections, editorial policies sometimes change. Some are made clearly to everybody who works there, but some you can just read. You should read between the lines and see that the policy has changed because of the scenario. So you should behave accordingly. There is how the language of how you should behave accordingly comes in. You just see, you can read. A journalist should be able to read between the line and see that no, this story ni Wachana and I. This one,
going by the person behind this media house. There's no way I'm going to bring in.
There are certain guests who, at times, even at such a time, you can't invite in certain media houses.
I remember one particular instance where a particular politician was called to be interviewed in a media house, And then by evening, it was cancelled. And I remember him saying, I know it is the owner of this particular media house that has stopped my interview, and they need to stop that kind of thing.
Yes. So because of that, you see now, the ownership ordinarily, even if it is not all about that, the owner of a media house is a politician, but the ownership affects professionalism, affects actually how a media house performs in terms of professionalism. Yeah, because of certain interest.
But don't you think in that case, therefore?
So the aspect of fairness, fairness, I would describe those words you've mentioned are relative. I think that would be the best description.
Okay.
They are relative. You are fair as far as situation A is concerned, but you can as well be as fair as far as situation B is concerned.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I've always thought that going by the fact that the media houses are owned by politicians, to some fair extent, don't you think our late president Daniel Arap Moi, to some extent, did a good job in how the standard media worked, or perhaps KTN? Because there's so many times that you'd see so many political things, even stories that were against him, but they would just air, on KTN, for example. That is true. Standard Media Group, I can also say, there are instances where you could guess easily the direction where the ownership is leaned politically. But when you look at the reportage, the kind of stories, angles, and the rest, the story contents, the line of story they are pursuing, then you realize that it is like there is that independence from the editorial and the management as well as the ownership. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just be straight on.
Yes.
On
yes. Sometimes you can divorce yourself and just let you. In fact, there are media houses where it is known that Millicent AROKA is aligned to someone Oida, his camp politically, and somebody else, and maybe Joshua Chieng, amidst Joshua Chieng, is aligned to another political affiliation, but Caroline so and so is neutral, or is not known which side she belongs. So much so, but the ownership is known to be on the side where one of the editors or one of the reporters is. But one of his own employee is known, but you still realize that that employee is still allowed to operate freely.
Yeah.
So those ones sometimes do happen.
Yeah. I've asked that just so that it can be an example also for those who are the players right now.
Yes.
To be able to see how the late president handled, the KTN standard.
But even in developed democracies where media is so much liberalized, there are media houses which would come and say today in Kenya that we are for Kenya Kwanza. With us, we are supporting Kenya Kwanza based on their manifestos. There's nothing wrong with that. It is only that certain level, the level of maturity also matters. But a media house declaring that we are for Kenya Kwanza based on their manifesto, in other democracies where people are not jittery for nothing, for even small little things, it's not bad. But you realize that a media house declares its interest for a certain political outfit, but still gives coverage, actually adequate coverage
for everyone else. Not that they now the other side for Azimio.
For Azimio. So that's why I would say that even if a media house now says that with us we are for Azimio, but going ahead to give coverage to Kenya Kwanza and any other presidential candidate or other political place is still in order. What is wrong is supporting a presidential candidate and declaring it publicly, and then you muzzle or you give blackout
to the
other competitor. That is wrong in the sense that these people are also stakeholders of the very nation.
Because I wanted to tell you now, we also have to grow in that maturity to a level where it is not also affecting business in such a way that no matter which side the media house had actually chosen to be on, we don't have an issue where the moment the people you are, okay, let me give a good example. You are for Kenya Kwanza, okay? And you have decided we are going to stand with Kenya Kwanza.
Yes.
But Kenya Kwanza does not win. Azimio wins.
Yes.
We should get to a point where Azimio does not start frustrating the media house that stood by Kenya Kwanza.
Yes.
You get
Yes, because of what? That is why, by this media house declaring that they are supporting Kenya Kwanza based on their manifesto, and they are advocating and urging Kenyans to vote for Kenya Kwanza. But the fact that they can still give coverage fairly, and actually comprehensive coverage, they can give more or less an equal coverage to Azimio without necessarily saying they are supporting them. I think Azimio should appreciate, even if Azimio now forms the government, they should say, why would we now victimize Media X for having declared its interest to support Kenya Kwanza, which was our opponent, in as much as we have now defeated them and we have formed the government?
Yes.
Why would we victimize them when our opponent, who are Kenyans, who mobilized millions of Kenyans to vote for them, and although we ended up defeating them, there is still understanding, which goes without saying, that once we have formed the government, we are the government for everybody. We are a government for millions of voters who did not vote for us, but actually voted for our opponent. So if you can't really vilify, frustrate, and really persecute millions of voters who voted against you, why would we pick a media house and frustrate? Yet, despite this media house declaring its interest, it ended up also serving you. But the millions of people who declared their interest did not serve you, they denied you the votes. So if at all there is what I would call a revenge, whom should you revenge against? You should revenge against millions of Kenyans who voted for you. But you cannot revenge against a media house which even gave you coverage as well.
So the whole idea here is that we should give coverage to everyone.
To everyone.
Yeah, and
to everyone.
Not just
to everyone. In fact, even if it reaches a point where we declare our interest for whoever we are supporting, but our responsibility, which is enshrined in the Constitution as our own, we should still do it. And whoever forms government should not go around and identify all those who voted against them and throw them out of the country.
Wow.
It can't work like that.
Thank you so much. Now, Samuel Owida, you started practicing, was it in 2006?
2006.
Okay. In 2006 all the way. So it means you've seen some either 2 or 3 generation of journalists. What would you say was being done well in the beginning that probably the journalists now are not getting quite right?
One of the things which still make we still make media supreme and make even Kenyans have confidence in media more than any other institutions of public service is because of what media had demonstrated in the past, the kind of commitment, the so-called truthfulness, the so-called fairness, the so-called being watched out. So all this made the media to be the last refuge, the only refuge we have at our hand, at our disposal, whenever the big hand of the government lands on us. Because sometimes you are told, according to Sierra Senator, that even a government can eat its own children.
James Orengo.
Yes, James Orengo. Yes. So if a government can eat, by the time the government is trying to start eating its children, it is the media that Kenyans turn to, or the civilian turn to.
Yes.
So the attributes, the positive attributes of the media, I would say there is some level, there is some aspect or some level of erosion that has happened when it comes to now how the current trend. Because what now the media gives emphasis. First of all, you have to take into account, and this is important, we share with the members of the public, that media has a responsibility even to set the agenda.
Yes.
And in the process of setting the agenda, media shapes the thinking of Kenyans or a community or a society. Media can even help you not look at me as a son of your neighbor whom you have issues with. And therefore whatever I say, even if it is the right thing for you, you ignore. But the media can make, the media can be in between and make you do what is right. Instead of you looking at me as a son of a neighbor whom you had issues with, maybe when you are sharing land or whatever. So the attributes of the media have, I would say, have eroded to the extent that one, there is issues of content. You know, content is very critical. So much that, because the content is what reflects what the society is. So once there is certain things that are not actually facilitating the good quality of life, or is not really taking Kenyans or the people into the direction that would make them better people, is not really telling them, is not really advocating for virtues, but instead is turning its back on vices. Instead, the media is embracing sensationalism. The media is embracing certain things that are not really honorable. Then it becomes now like any other thing. So it becomes like a dumping site of whatever is rotten, things like that. So this one has really made people some confidence loss. It has made media experience some confidence loss, just because of the content and what the media embraces. Yeah, I think that is it. But the originality, you know, this aspect of originality, the originality which is media known for, to an extent, even media was dreaded in some quarters, especially those who are guilty before they are even charged. The media was dreaded. But when media is like what you can dictate or even provide leadership for, while you are a guest, like we are giving an example of somebody who has been invited to studios as a guest speaker, is now is the one leading the pack.
Yes.
Then where the people are lost. Those who suffer, by the time the media is not playing its role, is the people. Yeah. So when you embrace just things that are not, like media should tell Kenyans that it is only in order to earn a living. To earn a living. And you cannot earn a living when you are not earning the resources, including money. But when media embraces making money, when media embraces making money, you are instilling a culture of people to make money. A society where people make money, there are no virtues. Because what counts is money. And when you make money, it's different when you earn money. You only get what you deserve. But when you make money, you can make everything for yourself. Even if you are engaging in drug dealing to get money, and media is turning back.
It's almost even said that...
Like even when media embraces this so-called in Kiswahili potea pata, even betting, I'm not for it. A real media, even when media advertises things like, because they are paid, because of for the sake of money, media is telling us, oh, this is this is Daktari kutoka Kitui. He treats virtually everything. What is that? Oh, you have this kind of problem. If you have this kind of problem, you can sort out issues of your home, even if it is your business. What is that? If media goes as far as advertising how somebody is going to perform miracles, so that everybody who is suffering from whatever form of suffering should go there, you see? While media should tell us, should dig into matters that this is typhoid. How can typhoid be treated? Even if it is through, even if it is all about using, engaging a herbalist. Yes. You cannot put people to think like when they have a problem, there is imaginary solution. If somebody maybe cannot give birth, then there is how certain miracles can be performed. No.
No, it's actually funny that there's one particular point in time when a media house actually did an expose about a particular pastor who, there were all these people, and there was evidence.
He's performing miracles.
And there was evidence of the fact that he was lying to the people.
Yes.
And then the next week, you're seeing this particular preacher again on another media house still preaching. It's like no one is really caring that an expose has just been done
about this person.
Yes, but you still, because he's paying
you,
he will just go on there. There are also instances where, and this one I was able to experience. Sometimes you're doing a morning show, and it's a gospel show, and some. Those wagangas have paid, and he's literally insisted, I want it on that, morning show. So you can imagine you're in the middle of, as a presenter, now think about this, as a presenter, you're talking to people about God and how he can do this and that, and how you need to pray and all that. And then in your next link, you have this maganga that is advertising, and you have to do it. Now the audience is...
How is helping people recover their stolen property?
As an audience, you as a presenter, you're even thinking, okay, if these people had to put it here, why couldn't they put it another time? Maybe in the night or something. Now it's making me give double messaging,
Yes.
On one side, I'm saying pray. On the other side, I'm telling people, and I'll let
the magics,
mayai and whatever, So really, it is also putting even the presenters in a compromising situation.
Because you are now telling...
Because of the money.
Because of the money. So these two forces are competing. You are giving room for the two forces to compete. But what is most important, which should be taken into account, they are there of a media house playing with the emotions of the people to land into a trap.
Knowingly, for them to get
for somebody else to benefit.
Yes.
I think it's not in order. That's why in my government, if I were the governor of a given government, for that matter, in this case, if I were the president, these things of betting, if you want, just go to where we allow them to do whatever betting. We'll give them license to operate. It is you to walk literally
and find out
where they are situated. Go there and play with your money there. Ukiweka hii wala hii ni pesa, hii sio pesa, something like that. But we can, why do I say so? Media has confidence of the audience. So whatever media airs,
people will be
is nothing but the truth. Absolute truth. So when you air somebody who is a magician talking about how he's helping certain families, certain homes, how he overturns misfortunes into fortunes, you see, you are playing with the emotions of the people, and in fact, you are helping that magician, that conman, to lay a trap on the innocent people.
Yeah.
Again, if I was in charge of government, if there is any betting which must go through media houses, what is required of you to incur as an expense will definitely discourage you. So that those who can afford are the only ones who we can allow to fall victims. But when you talk of 100 shillings, when you talk of that, just send, pay bill numbers, blah, 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 just send 50 shillings. First, you are making it cheaper, but you are targeting millions of vulnerable people. So to me, I would not allow it.
Okay.
Yes. Anything betting must be very expensive for whoever is engaging in them.
Before I release you, and because you have worked in several media houses, I would just like you to talk about the work environment and how it is important in journalism.
The work environment comes in two dimensions according to what I've been able to evaluate. There are people who are favored because they are godfathers, such that even if you are competent in a given area, then even when it comes to promotion, sometimes you're not promoted. Even if it comes to a situation where you are a correspondent, you're supposed to be maybe now employed permanently, you realize you are bypassed with somebody whom you are even better than, and then such a person get the favors and is employed there. Even if there is something to do with the retrenchment, or whatever you call them, I don't know which one, the HR guys call them, then you realize you can easily suffer a victim because you don't have a godfather. That one has not worked well when it comes to profession of journalism. Just like in other places, the same applies. But in media, it also happens. So it is important for the members of the public also to know that the challenges they have in other places also happen in the media house. So the work environment sometimes is compromised. Then you also know of the molestation. This one you had, where a certain gender is molested. It may not necessarily be one-sided, but there is how molestation has happened. So people getting some favors because they have allowed themselves to be molested. Some people have refused to be molested, and then they suffer accordingly. So all these have compromised the work environment in the media house. The other thing is now the packages. Some are paid peanut, some are not even paid in time. Others are paid a lot of money with very little output, with very little input. And the guys doing the dirty work, in fact, I would say, without fear of contradiction, that the guys doing dirty work are not well enumerated
in the media houses.
Yes. Because what are you editing? You can't edit what is not there. You only edit what is there. But the guy on the ground has no even fare. Even a daily fare of 200 shillings that can take him to some distances to go and cover function. So it relies on other means. First of all, by the time you're not facilitating that guy on the ground to go and look for news, then it means that whatever means he uses to reach the news is outside the media house.
And that is why he will pick the brown envelope.
That's why he will pick the brown envelope. Yes. That is why he will decide which news item to pick. Even when, in terms of priority, or in terms of sensitivity, item A as a news item could have been the one to be picked immediately. But he ends up...
Item B gave a brown envelope.
For the item B, a source gave out a brown envelope.
Yes, so they become news number one.
Somebody is suffering in the hands of somebody. Somebody is committing a serious injustice. But this story cannot go on air because a journalist on the ground cannot go and look for that news because the media house has not facilitated that person. So this person also looks for means and ways of earning a living at the end of the day by at least getting a token from whatever sources. So he is not going to pay attention. So you as a media house, you end up losing what is important that you could have used to change the society. So that a media house now becomes, for access to media house now becomes for only those who have the means. So you realize that there are a number of news items in the rural setups, in the far-flung areas and beyond, that are not being aired because nobody cares how. Either the journalist himself does not care, if at all is well facilitated, or he does not care because
he's not well
facilitated, or he cares, but his experience tells him he should not bother doing it because the editor there does not care about it. The editor is also busy with something else. He's also focusing elsewhere. So such are some of the things that do really compromise the work environment. So a journalist who is not well paid, not well facilitated, cannot reach out or reaches out is at the mercy. Sometimes is at the mercy of the person or mercy of the perpetrator of an injustice. So what do we expect? If the one committing injustice is the one facilitating your reporter.
Wow. Okay.
The society cannot get justice through from you as a media house.
There are also those instances where a whole team feels a perhaps it's just one main presenter who is given all the money, almost to $1 million bob, and the people who actually do your editing, those behind the camera and all that are not well enumerated. Have you seen?
Even in terms of labor laws,
Uh-huh.
they really how people should be paid in a way that does not compromise the work. You can't pay people peanut or nothing, and they do the dirty work, and you pick one person and you pay everything. If that person can be paid that much, can we do away with the rest and then we see if there is anything in production? It can't work.
Yeah.
Without those guys, it
without
can't
the
work.
camera and everything. Yeah.
It can't work. We have a driver here who takes me to go and collect news. It is the news that give the fame or recognition from members of the public, or gives a reputation of the media we work for. What I do in terms of what I gather from the ground, which you air, is what gives you the image, which sells you to the adverts.
Yes.
But you end up paying the driver better than me. So what are you doing? There's a conflict. Yeah.
And it happens a lot.
It
Where
happens
the
a lot.
core business is not paid well.
Yes. All media houses in Kenya don't care about the journalist. They care for a section, actually a handful. Yeah.
Wow.
And again, what really sometimes really make me feel disgusted. Sometimes I really ask myself with no answer, why would somebody graduate from the level of just a reporter on the ground, then he rises, and then when he's appointed somewhere, then he forgets on everything, and he behaves like he was never there before. So that it's just at the towers. Well, he experienced it. When he reaches there, he cannot even speak on behalf of the people he knows or what they undergo on the ground.
So you're saying journalists should stand up for fellow journalists?
The journalists should stand up for fellow journalists.
Yes.
But you see, everybody is selfish. In fact, the other thing that is killing journalism.
But we are busy talking about other people's stories. We are not talking about us.
We are talking about other people's stories, how they are not well paid. In fact, we even go and far as get documents to prove how they are frustrated, how their monies in terms of deductions are being stolen and not remitted. But the person talking about the remittance
He's also not getting his own money.
is not getting his salary. Or is getting, he can give you he can paint a great picture of how a certain employee, certain employees of a given organization are really paid peanuts, are really cannot really make ends meet. He has the energy to talk about that, but he doesn't have the energy to talk about himself. And even how he traveled to that place, the media house cannot even demand an accountability from him, demand from him to account. Because you don't know how he would manage to reach there.
That is why this show is here.
Yes.
To be able to talk to journalists on what they are actually going through. Because probably being in the different media houses, people are so scared of losing their jobs.
People are scared of losing their jobs. Sometimes certain celebrities, or the so-called comedians, you realize they're paid a lot of money without profession. These people, I'm not really against comedians, because they also help attract the audience to the media houses.
But it should not be a compromise.
Particularly the broadcast. But what is journalism? What is the core business of a media house? It's everything to do with journalism. So if you are paying a comedian 100,000, then what does that one tell you? It tells you that whoever does the core business, which is journalism for every media house as the main business they're doing, should then be paid more than 100,000. If you are paying a comedian 50,000, then it means the guy who's doing the main work should be paid more than that, because his specialization is the entire reputation of that company.
Yeah.
Even if you are an HR person, you can do HR elsewhere, and you still get paid what you're supposed to be paid.
Yes.
But if the journalists in the media house where you are an HR are not doing their work properly, that media house will not have a reputation that will command respect from the audience, and for that matter attract what an advertisement, which is business or the revenue for the media organization which you work for as an HR. So it's really somebody would talk of we are the guys looking for the money. We are in the marketing looking for the money that helps sustain the media organization.
But what are we selling?
Fine.
Yes.
What are we selling? You are selling
the content.
No, the content. The content is journalism.
Yes.
And you didn't do journalism. So you only market what we have produced.
Yes.
What have we produced? We have produced the audience from what we have as content.
Yes.
So audience is what we have produced in the process of developing content. So once we have the audience, then you can go to
convince
you can convince company A to give us adverts because we have the audience. Audience rely on the content. So it means that at times we may not even need you as a marketer, so long as the guy with the advert can come directly, or so long as he knows, she knows that we are a reputed media organization.
Yes.
He will come and do it.
Wow.
So basically, these are some of the so-called issues that bring a lot of conflict.
Thank you.
And affect the
Thank you so much for coming today. I want you to talk to that journalist who's just graduated from school and is coming into, this field, what to expect and what you'd, wish to see in journalism as we move on.
Yes. To whoever is joining the profession, just like the said it elsewhere, that whoever is going to run for a political office, the kind of training and education you are going to acquire, the knowledge you are going to acquire is much more bigger than what you got from the classroom. So much so that it is going to define you in more ways than one in terms of your understanding of the environment and everybody else and the environs as well. So I would also tell whoever is graduating or is pursuing journalism,
what role would you want them to play?
To know that this is not a place for the faint-hearted. It calls for those who are able to soldier on, those who are strong-hearted, and those who can develop thick skin. These are the people who can fit in the environment of journalism as a profession, because I would still refer to it as a hostile environment in whichever way you want to look at it, whether the media house you work for enumerate you fairly well, and then you are also given room to exhibit your potential, but the enemies may even increase depending on your own performance, both within and outside, because there are people who will be complaining from inside that you are outshining them, but they are your bosses. How comes you know this source? How comes you know this source? You have a story, you want to do it, then you realize your boss telling you, are you sure what you are writing is accurate? While it is you who talk to the source. You even have recorded the voice. And those are the challenges. Sometimes it is also important for these guys who are joining journalism to be in the media industry as practitioners to know that you may not necessarily get what you desire in terms of your profession, because you may end up getting compromised circumstantially in a way that you may even hate your profession, because there are forces which sometimes will deny you a chance to practice what is ethical, what is lawful, and what is sensible. So those are some of the challenges.
Talk about the emergence of online and how they can use it to put out what they're good at.
The other thing is the online, the technology is giving every journalist an opportunity to even establish their own media houses, like the one we have here, the AROKA Media. So that one is, but again, the technology is also not making them stay easy, because through technology, news is being churned every minute.
Yes.
News being churned. So it calls for now to be ahead of everything in terms of both fact checking, but also accessibility. Otherwise, any journalist joining journalism world and cannot embrace technology will not even move an inch ahead. Those are some of the issues I would bring to their attention, so that they get prepared and move into the future, knowing very well that technology has also brought challenges in as much as it has brought some solutions at all. Sometimes there are even threats that go with it, because if you cannot be very keen and pay proper attention to details, you may end up landing yourself in a problem. And you know there is also Cybercrime Act, which does not spare you if you go against what is prescribed. So for that matter, they should come out knowing very well that the good thing in the country, apart from the established media houses, which are there, before we only had one, and then they became 2, 3, 4. For now there are many, and when combined with the online, then it is like we are media everywhere. Yes.
What makes us stand out though is fact checking and giving people the truth.
Yes, fact checking is what should inform every bit of every information a journalist chants out. You only give out what you fact checked, and there are tools, and through trainings they will definitely be told how to apply those tools. There are tools from technology that are used to help fact check, so that you don't just join garbage in, garbage out kind of an arrangement.
Wow.
Yes.
That's Samuel Owida for you. He's been a correspondent for different media houses in the country, and the top media houses really. He's been to the Standard, he's been at the Nation Media House, he's been to Royal Media, and even the Patrick Kwako one. It's called
Radio Africa Group.
Radio Africa
and
Group.
And they work for the government. So I'm also,
he's been all round.
Round.
If you want to be a journalist, this is a man you really need to talk to, and even hear his story, man. You would learn so much. Some of us just wished we had stories like this before getting into the media.
Actually, I would say that through AROKA, people can reach you to reach me. I have a consultancy firm that advises on matters PR, that matters media relations.
Yeah. We will put your number down there.
My number will be very important, so that they can reach me.
Yeah.
For even advising politicians. On the other hand, I did tell you that I was also trained by Germans, a 1-year training on leadership, political leadership. Actually, basically transformative leadership.
With and politics would be another show.
I know that. Yeah.
Would be totally another show, and you're actually welcome to AROKA Media. We would want that kind of depth in politics, to even do our political shows. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Yes, amazing. So that's Samuel Owida for you, and he's been with us on Journalists. My hope is that you've learned so much about what happens behind the scenes, the things that journalists go through, in their work, and it is going to build some journalists out there. And the most important thing here again is he says, as journalists, let us be the voice for other journalists. Let's not talk about the problems that people are going through out there, taking other people's stories and forgetting about ourselves. And that is why this show really was born, so that we would have a place where journalists can, speak about their lives, speak about the things they go through, and so that the audience can also get to know what happens behind the scenes. My name is Millicent AROKA for AROKA Media, and of course you can go on, like, share, subscribe to this channel, and leave a comment down there.